So this will be one of the first videos in the series where I go around looking at all my different houseplants and saying all my houseplants and telling you a bit about them, how they've been grown over the years, a bit of the history and how I look after them. So this is my orchid collection, which has been slowly growing. I'll start with my first one and I'll work my way on to the most recent ones. Now they're all Phalaenopsis orchids apart from this tall thin one at the end, which is a Dendrobium orchid. So all the Phalaenopsis ones are grown in a very similar fashion. I must add, they're not looking at their best at the moment. Now the reason for that is because orchids go through two stages. They either have a growth phase of vegetative growth where they grow lots of leaves, or they have a growth phase of floral growth where they grow a lot of flowers. Now these are just coming out of the vegetative stage. So there's a lot of leaf and actually the plants are looking at their healthiest at the moment. But they're just not having many flowers, and a lot of the flowers are actually dying back. But we're coming into winter now, as you can see by the trees. It's late October. The cooler weather and the lower light levels will start to encourage these to flower, and this one has already started. You can see a lovely healthy flower bud coming up in there. So the first orchids I got were these two. This one I got for my girlfriend, just from Marks and Spencer's. Flowered. Flowers died, came back absolutely covered in flowers, did a much better display the second time. Now it's dying back again. You can see there's starting to shrivel up. Quite a pretty one, this one, quite small and dainty as well. Hasn't grown many leaves whilst I've had it, but it's done fairly well, and it came with that nice pot. I also got this one at the same time, on the same day, different shop. I got this from Home Base. I think it was 10 pence, can you believe it? Just 10p for an orchid. But when I got it, it had absolutely no flowers, but was covered. It had quite a lot of leaves. Unfortunately, as soon as I got it home, it started developing lots of blotches on the leaves, and almost every single leaf died. And then, over the last few months, it's grown these two new leaves, which are really nice and healthy. Also had a small flower spike, which had some flowers, so I now know which colour it is. It's a very pale pink, almost white. Similar to these, but a bit more pink in them. It's kind of a cross between these white ones, definitely the size of the white ones, and this pink one here. And that's quite a nice orchid. So now it's got a lot more leaves, it should have a lot more energy, and I've got high hopes for this flower spike. It's growing really fast. It's growing almost about half a centimetre a day, or maybe a centimetre a day, so it's doing well. This is my biggest orchid, and most spectacular when I got it. As you can see how big the leaves are, it's quite a robust plant. It's just recently grown this one. And only 2 or 3 weeks ago it had flowers from here all the way up and down. So it's a really good flower. At the moment it's putting most of its energy into its leaves, as you can see, nice big glossy ones. I'm expecting this one just to get a bit bigger, to be the same size as these other ones. Then it will hopefully start putting on new growth, as it's the right time of year for that soon. The next one we got is this white one. Got this from Marks and Spencer as well. I don't know why, but a lot of the flowers were damaged, maybe in transit or something. So the flowers aren't looking too good. But I haven't had it for long, so it hasn't had a chance to recover. This hasn't grown any leaves either because it's too new. But hopefully, after a bit of looking after, this should put on some nice new growth and new flowers. But it doesn't look too bad at the moment. It's got a few flowers, and the very tip, it's just starting to show signs that it might be starting to grow again, so that's good. Just have some more. So these are my most recent ones. This one's a very small one. Small Phalaenopsis again. I got this in Germany. And this is different to the rest that's grown in sphagnum, which I don't actually like as much because I find it's not such a good growing medium as the rest, which is just bark. You see here. Now the bark's more free draining. I find it's easier to not overwater them. And the only way that I tell if they need watering is if the roots are green like this, they're fine. They've had enough water. But if the roots inside the pot go the silvery colour like that, that means they need new water. So it's very easy to tell if they need watering. And none of them, they've all been growing bigger and stronger since I've got them, and hopefully they'll have really good flowers later on. So this one is really small, that's the reason I got it. And just in the last few days I suddenly started to put a load of new buds on. See if I can get that to focus for you. And I'm hoping it'll get some really good flowers on it. It's struggling there, but there's a nice bud there with lots of new flowers coming on it. And this one here is just starting as well. So that should flower even more. I'll give you a sense of scale. It's the very similar colour Phalaenopsis orchid, but look at the size of the flowers, completely dwarfs it. And you can see there, by the size of my hand, it's a tiny orchid, but it's quite cute. The last orchid I only got about a week ago, a Dendrobium orchid. It's quite different to the Phalaenopsis orchids. I think it's also epiphytic as well. So it's got a free draining medium, which seems to be a lot of coir. So it's not quite as free draining. This one's not as easy to tell if it needs watering either, but generally if it's damp I leave it. If it starts drying out then I water it. Got absolutely covered in flowers. This one I think flowers not quite as long, but has a much showier display. As you can see, the whole thing's covered. Another nice benefit is it's lightly scented. It hasn't got the greatest of scents, but it's not bad. This one also grows slightly differently, that it has these pseudo bulbs on the stems. They're fat and swollen. So with the normal Phalaenopsis orchids, they store their energy in the leaves and the roots. And what you want it to do is store up lots of energy in the leaves and roots during the summer. It gives you a great display over the winter. And if it's really healthy like these ones have been, it'll flower all summer as well, but just not quite as many as flowers. This one, what it does is it'll grow a new stem like this every season. That will grow into the height of this one here. Now once it gets to its full size and it's swollen up, stored lots of energy in its stem, it will then get covered in flowers and give a really nice display. Now as that's flowering and starts dying back, it will then start putting energy into another new shoot like this. And you can see here this is 4 years, or four seasons that it's done that. So this is the oldest one, and then coming along to the newest one like that. That flower out of the way, there you are. Oldest, second oldest, one of the newer ones, and then the very newest one. So that's how that one grows. So I should expect that this time in the year, this one will be the same height as that and be covered in flowers, and there'll be another baby one starting to grow. This big one it'll probably start dying down. I'll probably cut it back to a similar height to this, but we'll just see. I don't know a huge amount about this type of Dendrobium orchid, so it'll be interesting to see how it does. So that's all my orchids. I keep them on a northeast facing window. They get a little bit of direct sunlight. They get about an hour's direct sunlight last thing in the summer. In winter they don't get any direct sunlight, but it's a bright window anyway. As you can see, there's nothing out there to shade it, plenty of sky, so it's a good bright window. It's exactly what you want for orchids, especially Phalaenopsis orchids. The Dendrobium orchid could do with more direct sunlight, and in later on in the year when it's finished flowering I'll probably put it on a sunnier window. But with all the other orchids I have, which are Phalaenopsis orchids, they like it bright light but not direct sunlight, so this is the perfect windowsill for them. And that's my orchids. So this is basically like an orchid room where I keep them all. Keep all of these in this room, whereas these two are actually in the bedroom, but they're on the same aspect, so they get the same conditions. So that's my orchid collection, and I'll continue around and do some more videos about my houseplants later on.